Well, buenos dias, amigos. Welcome to the second episode of the mysterious cave of G.E. Kinkaid. If you remember, we started the exploration in the video Legends of the Grand Canyon. And then we did episode 1, and now we're about to start episode 2. I think it would be prudent at this time to take a look at where we are, what we found out, what we know, so we can plan today's exploration efficiently. So let's do that right now. In the Legends of the Grand Canyon, we saw how G.E. Kinkaid discovered the cave complex during the winter of 1908-1909. When he arrived in Yuma, Arizona, he contacted a Phoenix newspaper and they published his discovery on April the 5th, 1909. I then produced 3 vectors to the cave entrance as shown here, which converged to the entrance of Waterholes Canyon. Also noted a recent report by a U.S. Army insider whose team had a mission to the cave complex on February 28, 2023. In the episode 1 of Mysterious Cave of G.E. Kinkaid, we continue the exploration in Waterholes Canyon. I produced 2 vectors to the cave entrance, which both pointed to a cliff face near the canyon entrance as shown. I then climbed up the lower section of the cliff face, but could not find an easy way up to the upper level of the cliff face. I discussed the possibility of an alternate entrance to the cave complex created by the group who controls it. I also noted the original entrance could have been sealed up for security purposes. Okay, based on the original report by G.E. Kinkaid about the size of the cave, and now that we know where the cliff face is, where the entrance is, we can project like a CenterPoint overview of the complex. So here's an overview of the complex that I've made on Google Earth. And keep in mind, this is just projected from information from Kinkaid, and knowing the entrance to the cave. So we will find closer information on this in the future. Okay, welcome back. Now that you have a good idea of where we are in the exploration, I've developed 3 goals for today's exploration. And those goals are, number 1, find the original entrance that G.E. Kinkaid entered in 1908 and 1909. We know he first entered the cave in the winter of 1908-1909, so that's the entrance we want to find. We can't assume there's only one entrance. And another thing is, we know JP, a U.S. Army insider, and his team entered the cave February 28th of this year. So we are going to try to find the exact coordinates of the entrance JP and his team used on February 28th. They may be the same entrance. I don't think they will be, but if they are, the 2 anchor points for those will go to the same place. They'll be the same entrance. So the third thing, I want to find the center point, the geographic center point of the cave complex. That is, if you're looking down on a map of the area, there is one point on the surface that coincides with the vertical axis through the center point of the cave complex, and that's what I want to find. I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the middle of that little plateau behind the cliff wall of Waterholes Canyon we looked at in episode 1, but we'll see. I think it should be pretty close. I know in the preview I showed you a map of where I thought the cave complex was, so we'll see how close that is. I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of ducks here on the river. I even just saw a crane fly across the river a couple hundred feet back. And I saw a huge trout. This water is just clear as it can be. As you can see, you see the bottom right there. Lots of fish in the river. This whole habitat is very healthy. You can tell just by the, the birds and the fish and everything that lives here. The river is fine. Not like a lot of rivers that have been polluted. This one is still pretty much pristine. Hope it stays that way. I don't know if you can see it in the sun, but there's that archway I saw on the cliffside when I first came. I'll have to get up there one day, probably next spring sometime, because this is going to be the last trip this season for the Grand Canyon, because it's about to start getting cold next week, and just don't want to be out here on the river in cold weather. Hey everybody, so we've arrived here on the opposite bank of Waterholes Canyon. Take a look. When G.E. Kinkaid was coming through here around the end of 1908, this is very much what he saw when he looked up on the cliff. And I don't know what he saw that was so interesting, but he ended up climbing up there somewhere to find the cave. And if we knew exactly where it was, we could probably be looking at it right here. It's there somewhere. But that's one of the reasons we're here today, is to find the exact location. So, as you probably know, we have 3 things to find today. So we're going to need 3 anchor points. And those anchor points are: Anchor Point 1, the entrance to the famous cave complex that G.E. Kinkaid used in 1908 and 1909 to make his discovery. Anchor Point 2, the entrance to the famous cave complex discovered in 1908 and 1909 by G.E. Kinkaid that J.P.'s team used on February 28, 2023. Anchor Point 3, the geographic center point of the famous cave complex discovered by G.E. Kinkaid in 1908 and 1909. So those are our 3 anchor points. We have 3 things to find. Basically, we're going to find the entrance G.E. Kinkaid used. We're going to try to find the entrance that J.P.'s team used. They could be the same entrance, but I don't believe they are. I believe an alternate entrance was made just for security. And we'll find that out. If they end up being the same place, then we'll know they went in the same entrance as Kinkaid. And of course, we're going to find the center point of the cave complex is going to be somewhere in this massive mesa here. I think the diameter of the cave complex is about a mile from what Kinkaid's original story is. We'll find that out. But that's one of the things we're going to get today, is the center point. So let's get started. The first base point is going to be continued from episode 1. This is going to be GC base 7. And I'm going to do 2 of the anchor points here. I'm going to do the anchor point for JP's entrance, and also the anchor point for the center point of the cave complex. I'm not really worried about Kinkaid's entrance because we know it's right over here on this cliff face somewhere, and we're going to narrow that down later today, hopefully. So I'm going to do the remote anchoring for anchor point 2 and 3, and I'll put it on your screen now so you'll see what it is. And then we're going to move across the river and get to work there Doing a lot of remote anchoring today, so hopefully we'll get a lot of information. Okay, I've moved across the river to, I would say, the north side of the entrance to the Waterholes Canyon. This is like the corner of the entrance here. If you look back over here, that's the cliff face we were at on the last episode, looking for the cave. And if you see that little area right there in the middle, about halfway up, 3/8 of the way up, something like that. That little depression, that's the highest point of the climb on the last episode. So that's where we were on the last episode, but this right here is like the corner, and I'm going to do a base point here. So this is GC base point 8, GC base 8. And I'm going to do all 3 anchor points here. We're going to get 3 vectors. And once I get the vectors, I'll put them on your screen so you can see where they're going. It's kind of, it's going to be interesting to see which way the vector for the original cave entrance goes, because it was right up here on this little cliff face. We'll see if it kind of intersects with the other 2 vectors we got from episode 1. So let's do this. Okay, here are the 3 vectors for GC base 8. And I can tell you right now, due to the divergence of the 2 vectors for the 2 entrances, there are 2 entrances. Yeah, the entrance that JP's team used is completely different from the original entrance. As a matter of fact, see, there's the river there. And the entrance that JP's team used appears to be around the corner here. So that's gonna take a whole day just to find that, most likely. But at least now we know for sure there are 2 entrances. And we could have wasted a lot of time trying to find something that's been covered up, Don't really know what happened to it, but it's pretty sure it's not sitting out in plain visible sight. I mean, these people that control the cave now have controlled it for like 114 years. They don't make mistakes, and they don't leave anything open to security. So if you're looking for something, you better look carefully and use your head when you're looking, because they love to change things around and make secret entrances and drill new tunnels. That's what they do. That's just what they do. They've got the technology, so, looking at it from a logical standpoint, if you want security, that's what you would do. You would cover up the original entrance, drill a new tunnel from a convenient location near the river where you could just drive to it in a boat. Of course, it had to be camouflaged and all that, but it would be pretty good security because no one will be looking for it, No one has any idea it's there. Well, until now, huh? So let's move on. Okay, so we're down here in the canyon at the first tree in the middle of the canyon. And this is going to be GC base 9. Basically, we're going to get a reading to the center point here, and that's about it. So I'll post it on your screen and you'll see it. Okay, I'm climbing up the cliff face we were at on the last episode. The original entrance is supposed to be on this cliff face somewhere. So I'm going to work my way up, and as I go up, I'm going to do some remote anchoring and take some readings. So hopefully we'll be able to pinpoint the location. But we definitely know we're close here. We're very close. It's just a matter of locating it, and I think there's a good probability at this point that it's probably been artificially closed up just for safety reasons, you know, because we now know from our earlier vectors that we've got another entrance over around the river somewhere. So why leave this one open? It wouldn't make sense, really. But let's continue. All right, this is GC base 11. And the only vector I'm going to do here is the one to the original entrance. Anchor point 1, that's all I need here. And I know we are very close. I just keep thinking that you see this thing here in the side of the cliff. I don't know if you recognize it, but that shape is considered a natural yoni, and the native tribes in the area have talked about entrances to caves shaped like yonis because you're going into the womb of the earth, and this they think these entrances are shaped like wombs, and looking at this one, I can say, yeah, I guess you're right, you know. But I think this one's been terraformed because that's not an entrance. That's just a cliff face with a little shape into it. I'm going to go up here and explore it further and see what I can find out. But up to this point, that's it. That's the original entrance that Kinkaid went in. It's not that hard to get to. It's a little bit of a climb. It took about 30 minutes. So it's not too bad. But I imagine this entrance has been covered up because we now know there's another entrance around the side. I'm about to go around there and see if I can get a closer location on that. But wow, it's kind of a strange feeling to be standing here where Kinkaid went into the cliff in 1908, the winter of 1908 and 1909. He talked about some steps carved in the cliff. I don't see any steps. And this entrance is quite a bit different from the entrance he described in his article. Of course, he's not going to tell you exactly where the entrance is. He's going to give you directions to send you off course. He doesn't want, back then it was wide open, and the only, security they have is, not letting anybody know where the entrance is. So he wasn't about to tell anybody the entrance, but he said it's in the cliff face, it's visible from the river. And he was down here on the river, right down here, and he looked up here, and he saw that hole in the cliff and said, I need to take a look at that. Let's go do an investigation of this little depression here. This seems to be some kind of little hole. I don't know how far it goes. Don't have a light with me, so probably couldn't see in the sunshine anyway. It doesn't look like it goes too far back. Okay, here's the cave entrance. It's about 8 inches high and 6 inches wide. That is a little kind of an entrance there. But looking at the formation here, if you could just remove this section right here of rock, I imagine there would be a cave behind it. But the color and everything does seem to blend in with the area. It may be a little bit different from the other parts of the cliff face, which are a little bit darker, it seems, but mostly the dark colors do blend in. Oh, check that out. Now, I didn't see that little hole there last time I was here. But there does seem to be a fracture all along this rock here. Like this is part of the cliff wall here, obviously. This looks like it may have been added because Definitely looks different. And depending on how long ago they did this, if this is terraforming, I'm sure they could do it. It's a question whether they did do it or not. Listen to that. It almost sounds hollow. Well, you could come back with a hammer and start chiseling away at this rock face. I guess the NPS would probably have something to say about that. But wow, check that out. It does go back quite a ways. Yeah, but all along the cliff wall, there's a fracture separating the cliff from this piece of rock here. Let's see if that's the case on this other side. Yeah, obviously, this is the fissure right along here, and it goes up there all the way to the top. So you can actually say that this centerpiece is a separate piece from this cliff face on the right and the cliff face on the left. Okay, well, that's about all I can diagnose from this little formation here. It'd be nice to have like a long fiber optic probe to stick back through that hole and see exactly how far that goes. That would be acceptable because you wouldn't be damaging anything. Hey. Get a little robot, let him crawl back there and see what he can find. A little bitty robot. They have them. So all that stuff is expensive though. All right, guys, I'm going to put on my skis and I'm going to head down this hill. Wait a minute, there's no snow. Forget that. Yeah, it's late October, ski season is about to start. We had so much snow last year here in Utah and Colorado. I ski mostly in Durango, Purgatory. But I've never seen snow like that. I mean, God, there was so much snow, it's ridiculous. Is there such a thing as too much snow? Could be. Could be. And if you didn't notice, they have one little cactus plant here guarding the entrance. One little plant decided to grow right here in the middle of the entrance. Or was it planted there? That's a good question. Okay, I'm up the river a little bit from Waterholes Canyon. I wanted to get one more vector to the entrance that JC and his team used. Should be along the river here on the other side here somewhere. Could be around that corner down there. I'm not sure. But I want to do one more before I leave today to get a little more information. So this will be GC Base 12. And I will post the date on your screen for this. So in conclusion for this episode 2, we can say that the geographic center point is in about the middle of the mesa where we thought it was going to be. And the important thing, of course, is we found a secondary entrance. And that is the entrance that JP's team used back on February 28th this year. And it appears to be along a section of the river on the north side of the mesa, which is like the other side of the mesa from the entrance, the old entrance. And it's yet to be found, and it's probably going to be very well camouflaged and protected. So that's what it is, you know. We did find the original entrance, found the pretty obvious terraforming over the entrance. You know, I'm not sure what's going to be done with that. I'm not sure if we're going to do anything with that. But that's exploration. You never know what you're going to find until you find it. So we did find a lot of new things in this episode, and we concluded the search for the original entrance. We found a secondary entrance, and we found the geographic center point. So not bad all in all. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. I'm Jeff with Doc Savage Exploration.